Hey there. So it's been a while since my last update, 3 months to the day, in fact, I think. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One being that I've been a little bit busy and distracted outside of this, but more importantly, as I have progressed through this journey, I think it's important to take some time to reflect and understand the key learnings that are happening as I go through the process. So for today's video, what I really want to do is just document what's been happening over the last couple of months and identify a few key learnings that I've had throughout my entire journey that I think will be important for me moving forward, and then focus a little bit on the resources that I've been using and that I continue to use to help me to grow and develop through this. So firstly, if we take a look at the journey over the last 3 months, there has been quite a lot that has been happening within the markets. In fact, in terms of my own portfolio, I actually have seen a soar of almost 30%, meaning I was up 30% for a few brief days with some volatility around that. And then that has also actually crashed down to, at the very lowest, I was at -5% in my portfolio. Currently, that has leveled off a little bit, and right now I am about 7% positive. However, within that, what I'm trying to do is understand why that's happening in the market, what that means for both my individual investments and also the market and the economy as a whole, and then just to try and understand how maybe to work through that and to capitalize on things like that as they happen again in future. The other thing I wanted to touch on is I know that in my last video I had just recently purchased Airbnb, and as the whole point of this is for me to document my journey and to take out these key learnings. At that time I was saying that I was hoping that my Airbnb investment would pay off, but at that time it had not. So I'm glad to say that currently Airbnb is up for me, and actually regardless of these peaks and troughs, it seems to be sitting between about 180 and 220. Considering my purchase price was about 150, this has meant that even when there is a dip, I am still up for Airbnb, and so there hasn't really been a huge negative side for me on that. So it's just great for me to identify that I took a little bit of a risk and it is paying off even in a volatile market. The other one that I was talking about was Tesla, and at that time I had just purchased more Tesla, making it one share. However, since then I've also added another share, so I now have 2 full shares in Tesla, which obviously is very, very small, but in a small portfolio it's quite significant. So even though Tesla is extremely volatile, I have been able to pretty much stay above my average purchase price. And currently I'm the Tesla price is about $700. So I am curious and interested to watch what will happen with Tesla. It is always a very volatile stock. There's always reports that it's overpriced, and there are always other players chasing Tesla down. Like, so for example, just this week we heard that Volkswagen are planning to be one of the biggest electrical vehicle makers or producers in the next 5 years, and I'm very interested to see what will happen with Tesla, with those larger, more established automotive production lines, how well able they will be to catch up with and in fact probably pass out the likes of Tesla. However, I am still invested, and I'm also still invested in NIO and in Fisker. In fact, I have actually increased my investment in NIO since I last updated a video. The next thing I really wanted to look at, as I mentioned, was some of the key learnings that I've been able to identify. And so I said there was a lot of volatility in the market recently, and I've realized that it would have been a smart move for me to have had some cash available to capitalize on that. For the investments that I've made, I definitely do believe in the companies for the long term, And so even though there is some movement happening right now, I don't think that it's going to negatively affect them in the long run. And as such, it would have been a great opportunity for me to actually buy more stock from companies that I believe in. However, on this occasion, I did not have that money available, and so unfortunately, I didn't get to capitalize on that opportunity. But it is great learning, and it's something that I'm definitely keeping my eyes wide open for the next time. The second thing I've noticed is even when things are good, if the stock price increases significantly, it doesn't make a huge difference to my portfolio unless I have invested significantly. And of course, that makes perfect sense. But what that has meant for me is because the amount of money I'm investing is so small, an investment could, or a stock could soar 20, 30%. And that really is less than a couple of $100 for me in terms of the investment that I've made. So, what I've decided to do for now is to focus on some key investments and to essentially double down on those. So instead of having one share here, one share here, one share here, I'm going to, over the next couple of months, increase my commitment on the core investments that I've made. And currently I have about 15 investments. I would say maybe 10 to 12 of those are companies I really, really believe in the long term, and 2 or 3 of them are kind of experiments. So, of course, there's also an argument for diversification, and being all in on a couple of companies means if those companies struggle, I will struggle. However, I think it's a choice I have to make right now because I don't have unlimited resources in terms of how much I can invest. And in order to really see an upside in my portfolio, I'm willing to take the risk that if there is a downside, I am going to really feel that as well. The other thing I wanted to talk about today was the different resources that I have been using and that I will continue to use in the future. When I started this journey about 6 months ago, I had absolutely zero knowledge of anything in this space. And so obviously the learning curve has been quite steep, and there have been a number of free resources that I've been able to visit again and again and again to help me with this journey. Even now, I'm aware that in the wider world of investing, I essentially know nothing. However, I am happy to continue this journey, taking baby steps along the way. I do think it would be interesting how my resources evolve as my knowledge does, though. And so, as part of these update videos, what I really want to start doing is acknowledging and reviewing the resources that I'm using. And as a way of helping to hold myself accountable to that, I'm going to do that each time I do an update, starting with potentially Trading 212, which is the trading platform that I'm using, and MarketWatch which is where I get a lot of my news about what's happening in the market, and also I'm looking at a number of different YouTubers, as well as using Investopedia to understand terminology and things like that that's coming up throughout these other resources. So for the next video, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on those three or four areas, as well as identifying some new resources that maybe I will focus on from there moving forward. And also I will continue to obviously document my journey and highlight any key learnings as we go through the process. And the very final thing we will see here is just a quick check of how my portfolio looks as it stands today. So you can see here, scrolling from the bottom to the top, we can see which companies I am invested in and also the number of shares I have in each. Thanks so much for watching the video, and if you have any tips, tricks or advice in this area, please let me know. See you in the next update.